I'm sorry, what did I call?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What did I call?
We're one safe place.
Okay, I was referred to you guys. What I don't know where to go if there's law enforcement involved in the abuse. If the party can
Okay.
enlist law enforcement into the abuse.
Well, who is it that referred you over here? Was it the law enforcement that responded to you?
It was Safe Haven.
Safe haven. Okay, gotcha. And so you are currently experiencing domestic violence?
Right, and it is
Okay.
law enforcement is enlisted in the domestic violence.
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter either way for our services. What we do is we provide advocacy and referral services. So, if you wanted to get connected to any kind of resources like legal resources, help speaking with a detective, counseling, shelter, those kinds of things, could be something that we can try and get you connected to. We don't have a physical shelter here, but if you wanted to come in and complete an intake, if that's something that you needed, we can do our best to try and get you connected to something in the area.
Yes.
Um,
Is there anything
okay.
that you can give me, like referrals verbally, like over the phone?
I can give you a couple. It's a lot easier whenever you do come in for the intake because once we have the entire picture, I would know better like what you
I've
qualify
already
for
done an intake,
because
and my problem of it is since police are involved in my domestic abuse, they come and interrupt, and they come and interrupt with criminal trespasses.
okay.
So I haven't been able to
Can,
stop them from doing that. So they gave me a criminal trespass out of malice. They asked the representative to give me a criminal trespass. So until I get
okay.
internal affairs to do anything regarding that, I have a criminal trespass there, and I can't come. So, but I would still like education because that's been sabotaged for me for years. They don't want me to know how to protect myself and my rights on getting out of this crisis that I'm in that involves law enforcement.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, if you've been here before, can I get your first and last name so I can see when that was?
Yes, my first name is Kiana, Keyana. Last name Clark, Clark.
Okay. If it was a long time ago, it could be like on a different system.
Oh, you
How
don't see an
recently did you
intake? I
complete the
no.
intake?
The situation was quite unusual because they didn't take me to the back. They didn't give me any insight on how to, work, how I can combat the problem. You there? Okay.
I'm still here.
Yes. So they probably didn't do a proper um, intake.
Okay. And can you clarify where is it that you're criminally trespassed from?
They claimed that I had a criminal trespass from there. February 9th is when they did it, and the police detained me out
Okay.
of malice while I was
Okay.
there.
At one safe place.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think that kind of becomes difficult to kind of complete the intake, but I can definitely give you some resources over the phone if it's
Yes, and I
shelter that you're
specifically
needing.
need
So,
something to combat law enforcement, where the law enforcement is involved. Maybe when a party's a police officer or somewhere, avenue where I can combat abuse that law enforcement is involved in.
sure. Is the person that you're experiencing domestic violence with a police officer?
I don't know what he does for a living exactly. I saw it was an online relationship. I know that when I ended the online relationship, police lied and said I assaulted them and evaded arrest. 2018, and they've been lying on me, slandering me, and racking up felonies for years with no consequences. It was on body cam footage that they lied and said I assaulted and evaded arrest, and nothing has been done. I went to a domestic
Okay.
violence support group and was assaulted and arrested at the support group, and nothing was done then as well. So
Okay.
they are pretty bold with their actions and haven't had no consequences for their behavior.
Hmm.
That's why they
Okay.
came there, detained me, and forced me to leave there. And when nothing was done.
Okay. Okay. Well, how recently have you had contact with your abuser so I know that what you would qualify
Well, what
for?
he does is I'm railroaded. For example, I'll say that I'm going to go work on something. Like I said that I was going to go get my license. There was something on my license that I didn't do years back. So when I went to go try to resolve the issue, a deputy had me leave. They come and interrupt things that were purposely created in malice. So
Okay.
someone paid for the problem, and he has law enforcement enforce the problem that was created out of malice. So
Hmm.
there's an issue
Okay.
with my driver's license that's creating havoc in my life. So when I tried to went down to the driver's license place to get it resolved, a deputy forced me to leave and would not let me get it resolved. So then,
Okay.
I years later, I tried to get the situation resolved again. So I went to DPS and they told me that all I need to do was pay $100, and it was some kind of medical thing, where I had to get a medical evaluation for my license. Something was on it that was strange. Nonetheless, I did the medical evaluation that they required that I do. In addition to that, now there's something else on my record keeping me from a driver's license. This is recent.
Okay.
So then I applied for
Okay.
food stamps. There was a glitch with the food stamps. That so with food stamps they can sanction you after you get the food stamps. I applied for food stamps and they sanctioned me in my application process, which is abnormal. So they sanctioned me for 6 months in my application process. So I tried to do a complaint. So what I'm trying to say is I'm railroaded and my life is sabotaged.
Okay.
There's a
Okay.
lot of
I hear what
glitches
you're
all
saying.
over the places, all over the place that are abnormal that I think are not really glitches. I think someone's causing havoc and doing things they shouldn't be doing.
Okay. Okay. Well, is there any particular city that you would prefer to be in as far as shelter is concerned?
I've been blacklisted from shelter for a long period of time. I haven't had the access to shelter, so any place location that would give it to me, I'd accept.
Okay. Well, I'll just kind of tell you, like right now, a lot of the domestic violence shelters are at capacity, and so sometimes, as an alternative, if you're not able to get into one of those, I can offer you some of the homeless shelters that are in the area,
Yeah,
if
for
you
that's
need
what they've
something
been
on an
offering me
emergent
for
basis.
years. I'm blacklisted from shelter. They're buckling down and make sure I don't get into a domestic violence organization and get safe. And they even blacklisted
Okay.
me from all homeless shelters. I would like you to know that for my abuse. The police are
Hmm.
abusing their power and blacklisting me from housing.
Okay. Well, since we don't have a physical shelter, unfortunately, the only thing I can do is to provide you with some resources to other places. And so a lot of those intern
But
outreaches, we
I just
can
want to
give
make
you some
sure that
of
I'm
those.
being heard. A safety plan on how to combat abuse where police are enlisted. I think that that's pretty serious.
Hmm.
And I haven't been
Yeah,
given a
definitely.
safety plan, and I've been referred to homeless shelters, and that's kind of been ignored. I think if when a police abuses power to assault a woman attending a domestic violence support group and arrest her, that's pretty sadistic and sick. And then I don't understand where you gather all the people that condone that and allow that to happen and go condone it year after year with no consequences. Where do you find people like that that condone behavior like that? At church and multiple other locations, where do you find people that think that's okay and then go along with it?
Hmm. Well, I mean, I definitely understand your frustration. It's hard for me to comment on it without knowing kind of the entirety of what's been going on. But like I said, really the only thing
Well,
that I
as an
can do is
advocate,
to
I can give
provide
you the
you with some of those
information, and I thought
resources.
advocates, pull police reports and help advocate the woman for
No,
the
ma'am.
woman, but I haven't been able to get that with law enforcement sabotaging my ability to get help. I've read what advocates do, and they lie to me, and they're being dishonest.
Hmm. Well, there are different kinds of advocates. Advocates within the police department may have that ability. With our agency, that's not anything that we do. What we do is we get you connected with things like counseling if you need a legal referral for specific things like child custody, for example, or I can give you resources to shelters in the area. But we're not like affiliated with the police department, so it's not within my ability to pull up any kind of reports like
Well,
that.
typically you
Um,
sign a release, and the advocate goes with you with law enforcement and lets the lady know her rights and helps with the party and knowing her rights and advocates for them.
mhm,
But
mhm.
I mean, a lot
Well,
of people don't want me to know my rights, so I just let them. I'm just building a track record of a history of a pattern of behavior that has followed me years. Someone is sabotaging my ability to get help is what I'm just trying to
mhm.
communicate.
Yeah, and I definitely hear you on that. I think, if the law enforcement in this area is acting that way towards you due to the fact that you had a relationship with someone here, it might be better for you maybe to consider moving somewhere out of the area where that influence is lesser. And so if there's, an area that I can point you to that's a little bit further away, I can definitely give you some resources there.
It
But unfortunately,
follows. I went to Addison. I have a YouTube channel, and I went to Addison, Carrollton. I think the solution is to hold the people accountable that choose to be a part of these felony crimes. A lot of these my experiences are criminal. It's criminal. Then people need the charges they've racked up. I think that's what needs to happen. Focus on you just don't abuse your power and arrest someone and assault them for attending the domestic violence support group and then think that there's no consequences for that. They
okay.
need their consequences for abusing power to that extreme. But then forcing people that have took an oath to protect women to sit there, witness it, and do nothing.
Okay. Well, I mean, like I said, I understand your frustration. I'm just kind of limited in the things that I can provide for you in this moment. And so, definitely if there's a complaint against the police department,
I
that would
just
sort of
I
be
called.
caught through
What did
their
I call?
chain of command.
Because I've had to endure this year's no education, nothing is no one ups any information. Period. What did I call?
What is what called? I'm
What did I
sorry.
call?
Where did you call now? You
Yeah,
mean what is our agency?
yes.
Our agency is One Safe Place.
Okay. So, what do you do there?
We provide advocacy and referral services for people experiencing domestic violence. But kind of like what I told you, if you're looking for shelter, we don't have a physical shelter here. So what I can do for you is I can provide you some resources over the phone, but that's going to be the extent of what I can offer you as far as shelter is concerned.
Okay, but I did say
So
that it's very important that I am able to get some kind of avenue to combat police corruption. I haven't been able to get it for 5 years plus. It's been
for
sabotaged.
that, that's not anything that we can help you with. If you're trying to report that sort of corruption, I mean, I think that's definitely something that you can make a complaint to the police department directly. But though sometimes we work with them, we're not a part of their agency. We're completely
Okay,
separate.
because what I read online is that advocates they call the police departments. You can sign a release. What I read, I'm just telling you what I read. That you can sign a release, and what advocates do is they call the police and make question if they're not investigating reports, and they call and they advocated for the party. But no, I'm just trying to build up a track record that someone is having these advocates sabotage your systems because they're unwilling to
Okay.
do it.
Well, unfortunately, that's not entirely accurate. A lot of
Okay.
times, the police won't even speak to us without, you having, worked with them in the past. The most that we do is we get you connected so that you're familiar of who your detective is on cases and you're updated on the status of arrest. Um, those kinds of things, usually that would be maybe something an attorney can help you with if you're trying to file for some sort of, civil damages in regards to that. But that's not anything that we have the capacity to do.
Do you
So
have
I can give you
attorneys for
some phone
civil
numbers for
damages?
shelters, but that's the only thing that I
Do you
can
have
provide
attorneys
for
for
you.
civil damages?
I do not. You would have to look up that on your own.
Okay, so how do you help the woman if it's police are involved?
That is kind of a complicated question to answer because, like I said, that's not within the scope of what we do. So I can either provide you with, some shelter resources, but that's going to be the only thing that I can really provide for you. So would you like to take a couple of those resources for shelter in the area?
Is one safe haven?
One of them is yes.
They won't help me. Okay.
Okay. Well, the only other resources I can provide for you other than Safe Haven in this county would be some of the homeless resources. For example, like the Presbyterian Night Shelter, I can give you their contact information.
Okay, so um this is what's been happening. No place. You have to see it to believe it. No place. I called protection, trying to get help with protection orders. They stage conflict and arguments so they can get out of giving me any education, period. They just stage conflict so they don't have to talk to me. They don't want me having any education, no knowledge, period. So they start arguing.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
is there any
Like I
kind of
said, I
education I
understand
can
your
get on my
frustration,
rights?
Ms. Clark, but I can only provide you with that phone number for the shelter. That's going to be the extent of what our agency can help you with. So
Okay,
would
let
you
me make
like
sure I
that
understand.
phone number?
So you only want to give me the number for a shelter, and you as well don't want to give me my rights. You don't want. What's your name? Okay, and Shayla, you don't want to do a safety plan, or you don't want to give me my rights or education on
Um,
my rights either.
okay. As far as your safety plan goes, I mean, I cannot safety plan with you in regards to, police corruption. That's not anything within the scope of our agency. So what I can do for you is I can provide you with this number for shelter in the area, or I'm happy to give you a shelter
Ma'am, I've
outside of the
called the
Tarrant County area.
DOJ, the Department of Justice. I've called all over, and for years, no one has been able to advocate for me, period. And I've called places that say that they handle police corruption. I think it may have something to do with why my provider has been at these locations. Police come to my providers and force me to leave when I'm trying to report these strange phone calls. I don't think people are this crooked. So I think something is amiss. You don't call all over the United States for years and everyone is covering for crimes and no one can help you. People aren't this crooked. I've been calling 5 years plus, and everywhere I call, they cannot help.
Okay. Well,
Okay,
again,
ma'am.
I'm sorry for
So
that.
what can you do to help?
I can provide you the phone number of this shelter called the Presbyterian Night Shelter, which is in Fort Worth,
Okay, so I
if
said I
you'd like
have
to
false
take that phone
arrest, and
number.
I said I was assaulted and arrested at a domestic violence support group, and you want to give me the homeless shelter number. That is the only resource that you can give me at a domestic violence location.
Since you said that Safe Haven wasn't able to help you, this is the only other alternative within Tarrant County. Like I said, if you wanted to look for shelter in a city outside of Tarrant County, maybe somewhere further away, I can definitely give you that information
I mean, I thought as an
by
advocate that
contacting
you
the
would know
National Domestic
if, I
Violence
mean, I
Hotline.
think that someone is sabotaging, something is going amiss. I think that someone is doing, racking up a whole bunch of felonies and need consequences.
Okay.
I don't think that this is a
Okay.
normal call that an average woman would experience. I think something is going
Okay.
on. Because if I told
Okay.
you I got assaulted at a domestic violence support group and someone is railroading me down to get a driver's license, that you, it doesn't make sense for you to tell me to go to a homeless shelter.
Mhm. Well, that's the option that I have for you. So, would you like to take that option? I can give you the phone number if you'd like it.
Okay, so conspiracy to violate rights, that carries charges.
Miss Clark, I do have
So if
another client
someone
that I need
is
to meet with. So it
listing
sounds
people to
like
treat me
maybe our
like this,
conversation
that
isn't
is
going,
criminal.
anywhere. So if you would like any of those resources, feel free to just give us a call back and we can provide those
I'm on the
resources
phone
for
right
you. Okay?
now, and I don't want the
Okay.
homeless
Thank
shelter.
you.
Are you hanging up? Hello? She hung up. This is how they've been treating me. She's not on the phone. Hung up.